A, B, C. A always be B, C closing. Always be closing.
Hey, what's up, everybody? As always, another episode of Scared Money Don't Make Money. This is our March special, starting off with my friend Gabi. And it also is perfect because it is International Women's Day, and I have my oldest daughter, Ivy, here, who's going to help me interview people throughout the month. So, as always, if you like what we're talking about, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok, any YouTube, anything and everything. And yeah, we're gonna get started here in a second. So, Gabi, if you wouldn't mind telling people who you are, and then Ivy, you are gonna have a chat.
Of course. So thanks, Cameron, for having me on. I'm so excited to be here with you and Ivy. So as you mentioned, my name is Gabi Preston-Phypers, and I run 3 businesses right now because I like being busy. I come from an investment banking background. I worked at JP Morgan for 8 years. Then I did a small stint in software sales, and then I fell pregnant and had my beautiful daughter Phoebe, and it just inspired me to kind of take back control of my life and live the life I've always wanted. So I jumped out of the corporate world and joined our family business, Oscar Harrington, where we specialize in mobile robotics recruitment. I run then a small business called Own It with Gabi, where I help people articulate their passions on their CV so they can get hired. And then the latest adventure on this whole journey of life is we've just launched a company called Raccoons, which is a technology company dedicated to improving efficiency for recruitment businesses. There you go. That is Gabi.
So, so I met her on the program they're always talking to like people on. And what caught my eye was she has a raccoon in her name, and she talks about being the raccoon trainer. And so Daddy thought it was interesting. So that's why I thought it'd be cool for her to come on. So ask her some questions that you have. She's in an entirely another country. I know you think that's cool. So, ask her any questions that you'd like to know, as you're growing up. She works for a robotics company. So what do you got?
I only have 4 questions.
You can ask me anything.
Look at the camera. Don't worry. You wanted to do this. So yeah, look at the camera and you got to talk.
What hobbies? Do you have any other hobbies?
Oh, do I have hobbies? Do you know, that's a really good question. I love baking. Okay, so I'm not one of those standard women that like cooking like normal meals. So like breakfast, lunch, and dinner bore me, right? I don't like making them because I'm just like, oh, someone else can do that. So my husband, poor Mitch, ends up doing that. I like baking. I bake cakes. So like my daughter's birthday cake. Do you guys have Hey Dougie over there? Do you know what Hey Dougie is?
What is
Do you know Finding Nemo?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So last year for my daughter's first birthday, I made her a 2-tiered cake with a Nemo on and a sea themed all the way around it. Like I love baking cakes and decorating them. If I get a chance to bake, like yesterday, I was like, oh, I'm really bored. So Phoebe, who's 2, loosely helped me bake a banana cake just because I wanted to. Like that is my all-time favorite hobby. That's all I love doing.
You like baking? She likes baking with my mom. My mom's big on baking. That's kind of their act. And COVID's been horrible, obviously, because they can't really bake anything right now.
No, I mean, what's your favorite thing to bake?
Don't look at me.
Don't
She's talking to you.
French toast?
Ooh,
Oh,
yeah.
she does like my mom's French toast, so that's a big thing for her.
You're gonna have to send me the recipe for your mom's grandma's favorite like French toast. Send it over.
So what other questions do you have for her?
When were you interested in your job?
Oh, when was I interested in my job? So that's a really tricky one for me. So when I was younger and I did A levels, I don't know what A levels equates to in the US. Like when you're in sixth form, so it's 17.
Oh, like a high school job?
Well, no, like your exams, your examinations.
Oh,
Like,
so 17 is like junior or senior year.
Yeah, so I was about that age, so about 17, and I decided I wanted to go into banking. Like I had it fixated in my head that that was the job that was going to make Gabi,
All I
right?
hear is that song. I love money.
Yeah, like this, right? Like that is it, right? I genuinely thought I was like, I can have this huge career and I can make loads of money and it'll be the happiest thing I've ever done in my life. And I'll be really, really honest with you. It was it was a great experience from a learning curve perspective, but it didn't make me happy. I was in a job I was very good at, but the environment just didn't really make me Gabi. Like if you do you know what I mean? When you're in an environment where people just aren't healthy and they make you feel a bit sad. That was what banking was for me, unfortunately. And I would say that the moment I joined our family recruitment business was the moment I was like, yeah, that's the job I want. Like I just knew it. As soon as I got here, I was like, I can finally help people be awesome and find where they want to be in their careers. And that just for me sparked every passion in my life. What do you want to be when you're bigger?
You should jump somewhere between a micro or some type of scientist. We haven't locked it down yet, but she
Oh,
like I was telling you, she's very interested in programming. So
yep.
like in her school in Pennsylvania, where we were before here, they were actually doing. Have you heard of Scratch?
No.
So Scratch is this program that they're using for younger kids where it's coding but with like blocks to teach them the
Okay.
fundamentals. So like I want, like you draw a picture and you're like, I want this part of the picture to do this. So you'll like grab that block and you'll put that block in
Got
a
you.
sequence. So it teaches them the fundamentals, right? And so she really started kind of I bought a the little raspberry computers to
Yeah.
hook up to the thing. She would play with it at home, and so that's something that she's always thought about too, because she always sees me playing, like doing stuff on my computer, and she likes to watch me edit. So I don't know. She got a big brain. She got a big head.
You need to get one of these.
Yay!
I
I got it from you.
ready.
I have.
This,
We have.
okay.
I mean, not as.
So this is a piece of kit that I bought my husband for Christmas. Okay,
Oh
that's how
wow.
sad we are in this house. Okay, for those of you who obviously can't see this because we're on a podcast, I just realized that I'm holding up a little robot. It's a what's it called? I can't even read it. I can't even read what it's called. How bad's that? That's some really
Horrible
bad
design.
branding right there. But basically, it's a homemade little robot. But what's really cool and why I thought you might like it, Ivy, is because once you've built it, you get to program it. So you can program how it follows a track and a train across paths and things. And my husband built it, so you don't have to be like super techie. Like he's not a techie. He may recruit in the space, but he's never built a robot. But you would love this and give it a go and see if you can implement some of your coding to make it follow like this path along the road. There you go. Christmas present next year.
If this thing costs me a car payment, Gabi, you're dead to
You
me.
will love it. You will love me forever because I will be happy.
What's a car?
What's that?
What's a car payment?
A car payment? Like what I paid for our car that drives you around to buy it and spend my money.
Hey, you're worth it. Just say, Dad, I'm worth it, and give him a
Yeah.
cheeky smile.
So what other questions do you have for her? Look at her. Look at her when you're talking to her.
What's your favorite food?
What's my favorite food?
Like
You know what? Homemade pizza.
Oh.
Homemade pizza is our tradition on a Friday night. Phoebe and Mitch have to make the base from scratch.
Oh man.
And then they decorate it together. Decorate it makes it sound like a cake, doesn't it? But put all the toppings on it, and it's just heaven, absolute heaven. My favorite food. I count down the days to Friday, not because I want work to finish, but because I really want their pizza.
What kind of crust do you guys use?
It's only thin. It's only thin base. Mitch and Phoebe haven't got that complex yet. I'm not sure how that would end.
They haven't gotten their pizza hands. They haven't gotten their pizza.
No, I should make certificates for them next week and be like, if you can make me a cheesy stuffed crust pizza, You win. Like, you
Oh.
can have this certificate. How about you, Ivy? What's your favorite food?
Orange chicken.
Orange chicken.
Is that a question or a statement?
Statement.
Okay.
I have never had orange chicken.
Oh, what?
Where'd you get this from? Do you make that? Do you make that with your mom?
No.
No, no. So we get it from. It's a. I mean, I don't know if it is actually a Chinese dish, but you usually get it from a Chinese restaurant.
Oh my gosh, I actually feel like I've been missing out on something in my entire life. All right, I'm adding it to the list.
Yeah. So
Mitch is, as soon as I walk out here, I'm going to demand orange chicken from my husband.
so it's like chicken that is breaded, and then usually I think it's cooked in a pan. It's kind of like deep fried-ish a little bit, but it's covered in like a orangish glaze.
How weird. The closest thing I can think of is like sweet and sour chicken. Like, that's the closest I can think of.
Probably in essence a little bit like it, but there's no sour to it. But what I know what I like to do is I like to put a little bit of soy sauce on it, because then it levels it out, right? Because then you have the sweetness, then you have the salty.
This is like a cooking program. I'm really hungry right now. I'll be honest, guys. Like, I really want to go and eat food. So dangerous.
Yeah, we like food. We like food in our family. That's our
food.
thing. I just got my COVID shot, and
Ooh.
it wasn't bad. And then my wife, she was like, "You should get some food," and she like sent me a place that's like across the street from the place I was at, and it's like this little mom and pop place. And I went inside, and I got chicken and waffles, and it was amazing.
Oh, love. Do you know what? I cannot wait for our shops to open up properly over here, because we're still in lockdown, right? We're hardcore lockdown for another couple of weeks. And I just miss going out for food. I just miss going to go and find those cute little restaurants that just have the yummiest food.
Yeah.
But obviously, a lot of them haven't survived and all that drama. But love food.
I think they said like somebody was telling me like in New York that like 30% of the businesses won't reopen or something like it was some crazy number.
It's harsh.
Funny enough, one of the other guests that we're gonna have, Mary, she does psyops for the army, so psychological stuff for the army, and and so one of her fun facts when we were talking was she was saying that when you drink coffee, right, when you go to a coffee shop, it's not that you like, yes, their coffee's good, if you get like something fancy, but most of it is that you just enjoy the experience of it.
100%.
You just like going there and be like, oh, can I get a Thai with my mocha green tea, and then feeling nice when you walk away with your cup like.
It's just like lots of people say they love working in coffee shops, and I don't know if you have that like where you guys are, but over here you'll find lots of people who are in startup companies be like, I'm gonna go and grab a coffee in like a little coffee shop, and they'll go and sit. It's very kind of like, ooh, and you go and sit in a coffee shop, and you sit there with your coffee and your laptop, and you just kind of type away, and it's just like it's like a whole experience.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what it is.
It's a whole vibe. Like you wanna walk in like
you just want to strut your stuff, right? You have to wear your favorite outfit and strut in and order the most complex drink. And I'm very British. I don't even really drink coffee. I'm like, can I have a breakfast tea, please? Yeah. So British, it's unbelievable. And yes, I do take milk with that, and that's pretty much as complex as you get. But yes, it's a coffee experience.
I was what is it? I was taught the proper way to drink tea when I was deployed in Iraq. I was there with the Royal Air Force.
Okay.
And the building that we were in, there was just like a couple of us, and we worked. We were in their building, so it was like the United States Air Force guys were inside the Royal Air Force's little building.
Yeah.
And so like there were like ground rules. Like when we stepped in, they were like, "Hey, look. If we, you drink the rest of the hot tea, you put more tea in there. You make sure that kettle is always filled. And they were like, if you get tea, you ask other people if they want tea as well, and then you always ask if you want milk or no milk."
It's very British.
But it was amazing. I drank more tea. I felt so healthy when I was done with that deployment.
Ivy, do you drink tea?
Not really. Sometimes, but not really.
Oh no, we have to corrupt you. Maybe do you know what? One of the things I did, I remember I went to New York on a business trip. Now, this is a confession, okay? So I went to New York on a business trip and I was there for a week. And I remember the first thing I did when I landed, I got into my hotel, went into my room, and they only had coffee.
No.
So I rang the concierge and was like, "Can I get tea bags?" And they're like, "No." I was like, "Okay, so where do I go to get tea in this place?" I kid you not, I went for a 3-hour walk
Oh my
to
god.
find a shop that would sell British tea bags. Lesson learned, take your own to New York because they don't sell British tea bags. Your tea bags taste very different. I'm just saying it, okay?
So any of our British people listening to this podcast,
Bring your own tea bags, okay? Because tea bags in the States do not taste the same as British tea bags. I don't know why, they just don't. I'm going to send you some. You'll appreciate them, I'm sure.
yeah, well, we can drink British tea. We'll have to get it we'll have to have her send us a video on how to though.
Yeah, you'll definitely have to. I will. I'll send you how to make the perfect British cup of tea.
So what other questions do you have?
One more. And what was your
Don't look
what
at me.
what's your favorite what was your favorite subject in school?
Ooh, to be
Finance,
fair, that's a
economics.
tricky
No.
one.
No, not
Do you know what? As I got older, yes. I'm so sad. So, if I'm honest, school wasn't my favorite place. And I probably shouldn't confess this in front of a small little, but I've got dyslexia. So that means I really struggle academically to, like, just in school in general, across any subject. And it used to make school really, really stressful for me. Like, I used to go in and they used to hold me back at lunch times and at break times because they'd be like, "Oh, you can't read. What are you doing?" Like, it was really horrible.
Yeah.
So it actually made me really resent school.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I kind of got a little bit older where I was like, actually, do you know what? Go away. I'm Gabi. I'm good at stuff. I may not be great at reading, but I am who I am, and this is what I do. So actually, I really started to enjoy music. Like, I used to love music and I used to write piano music. My parents actually got me like a little keyboard and I just taught myself how to play. And then as I got older and started to get more confident, yeah, I started falling in love with business and then I fell in love with economics. And it literally, then I went to university and studied it. And they were kind of like, they were my happy subjects because I was actually really good. And as you get older, because you get to pick the subject you specialize in, you can actually just fill your world with happiness.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Yeah. Do you know what she means when she says dyslexia? No, that's when you just to make sure I understand correctly. That's when I'm like, well, do I understand? That's when you when you switch the letters around in your mind, right? Like
So that's there's a part of that where you have letters. So for example, the letter B, right? Some dyslexics see it as a D. So when you're writing things, you can rotate the words. It can even be simple things like, I don't know, like I'll be struggling to understand colors. Like my mum laughed at me. She was like, me trying to learn colors as a kid was awful because my short-term memory is really, really bad. So dyslexia is fundamentally, they call it a learning disability because you struggle to read, you can struggle to write, you can struggle to understand information. So it kind of full spectrums really. And each person is subtly different depending on how they've learned to handle their dyslexia.
Yeah.
But for me, mine was reading. I could not read for love nor money, but I was really, really good at kind of remembering what people had read in that storybook based on a picture.
Yeah.
So if someone asked me to read out loud, I would read what I remember they'd said to me and kind of depict a story based on the picture that was in the book. So they only really found out I was dyslexic when they took pictures away from me in my books and was like, read this, and I went, like, there's no pictures. Like, what am I meant to do here?
Give me the picture back. Give me the
picture back. Yeah. let me just draw a quick doodle and then I'll tell you the story.
Yep.
But it's interesting because like obviously it impacts school, but obviously it's one of those things that doesn't go away. Like it stays with you throughout your career and it's still with me. Like it's still very much my little friend that sits on my shoulder. But you just kind of learn coping mechanisms. And like I said earlier, as you get older and you find your own rhythms, it doesn't really impact you.
That's why I tell you, like, same thing I tell you, like, with your sister sometimes is like her learning stuff. She's not going to learn stuff as good as, like, you may not, but at the same time, like, she learned how to ride a bike really well, right? Everybody's going to gravitate to things a little bit easier based off who they are. So you should always try and recognize that some people might not be good at things that you're good at, but they have things that they're good at, and together you create this like awesome pot of a whole bunch of things you guys are good at together, right? Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Makes you dangerous against your parents.
Yep. Yeah. So remember who your friend is here.
Yeah, the ally. Me. Yeah, it's me, Cameron. It's not you anymore, dude. It's me. I'm the ally. I'm the ally. But your dad's right? We all learn things so differently. Like, even, I bet you can set, like, there's girls in your class or friends in your class at school who they get things quicker than you do on some subjects. And some subjects you sit there and go, I'm amazing at this. And you get to help them, right? You get to help them get better, or they get to help you. I mean, like, I think as long as everyone kind of clubs together to make each other better and acknowledge where someone's better at something than someone else, and instead of picking on them, they go, okay, cool, I'm going to teach you something today. And we all keep growing together. It's just so cool. Like, we should do it more as adults, because I know adults definitely don't do as much as they should. But, like, kids are an amazing role model, because kids just do it naturally. They want to help each other because they want to play with each other.
Yep.
Like, it's awesome. I love it.
Yep. Is that right? Got any other questions?
No.
No?
No.
Okay.
No.
All right. Well, you have to go back to class. So I'll keep talking to Gabby, but
Okay.
you have anything else? You sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much,
Thank her for her
Ivy.
time.
Thank you.
It's
Yeah.
lovely meeting you, and I hope you have fun at school.
Bye.
All right.
See you later.
I'll be downstairs a little bit.
I'm adopting
Now it's
her,
time
this
for the
time.
match.
She's so cute. So cute. I love her.
She is just super smart, but obviously shy, right? Like, that's where I think they always say, like, so kids get this from their parents, that from their parents. She definitely gets her kind of shyness from my wife, and then my other daughter, my middle daughter Zoe, would be on here like, "Let's go, my name's Zoe, let's rock."
Oh, and she'd be like that. You'd be like, you need to go back to school, and you'd be like, no, I don't. Daddy shush, go away. Oh, bless her.
Let me talk, Dad. Let me talk.
Yeah, daddy, just you shush. I got this. You go and have a half an hour tea break. Okay, I got this. Yeah. I've got nieces like it.
Have to have a proper tea. So anyways, I appreciate that. So now we can talk about the more advanced stuff. So I would love for you to elaborate on the raccoon thing. I know it's a long story, and I appreciate it, but I think it because I'm gonna put a raccoon in I'm gonna try to in like the name and stuff like that. I'm gonna try and like really like drive the point home, but because I think it's awesome, right? Like, not only is it like an interesting way to get people to notice like who you guys are, right? But I was telling my wife about it when we were driving, and I was like, yeah, like I got the story behind the raccoon, and I dropped it on her, and she's like, I guess that really does kind of make sense. So please educate the people on the raccoon, tooled up raccoon.
Raccoons. Okay, so I guess where we need to really start on that story. Do you want me to start about where the name came from, and then we can kind of elaborate from there?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So, tooled up raccoons it's always a favorite question of everyone, right? Where did the name come from? And it was one of those moments where my husband and I sat down in our business, and we were like, we need this tech. We need a piece of tech. We need to solution it. And that's great. But we were like, well, what do we call this? And we started spitballing loads of stupid ideas. And all of a sudden, I recalled a conversation I'd had from the day before, where, do you know those really irritating interviews where someone's like, oh, what animal are you? And you look at them and go, well, you're a plonker. What are you doing?
If you were a flower, what flower would you be?
What flower? What color best represents your personality? And you're like, I don't know, red right now because it's really irritating me, right?
Really red.
But it was one of those things, and I just looked at my husband and was like, okay, let's just pause for a moment. What animal would you be? And he looked at me and I was like, what are you talking about? I was like, okay, let's rephrase it. What animal best describes a recruiter? And we both kind of sat there and paused for a moment, and then we went, I was like, a raccoon. And he was like, why? And I was like, because you guys have to rummage through so much shit to find the good stuff. And you're super persistent. You're bloody everywhere, right? There are raccoons everywhere that you cannot get rid of them. And they are this pest that you don't want to love, but yet they're so cute when you find a really nice one. They're really fluffy and cute. So I was like, cool, right? Raccoons, right? It has to be something raccoons. And then we were like, well, what do we call it? And then we were like, well, actually, because the piece of tech is adding skills to their armory, like we're calling it an armory here, and I'm going to drop that because I can on these kind of podcasts with you, because you get it. And we were like, okay, why don't we call it tooled? So it becomes tooled up raccoons. So you raccoons have all the kit behind you. And we're like, done. Tooled up raccoons. It was just one of those humorous conversations, but it's been incredible for the company because people are just like, this is so funny. And actually, I put a post out on Friday about the fact we've hired a marketing girl to join us.
Yeah.
And all I did was put a raccoon video, like a GIF of a raccoon eating cake. I got a message today from LinkedIn saying, congratulations, your post has hit the top 1% of engagement.
Yeah.
What the hell just happened? It's a raccoon eating cake, and the text post wasn't even worth watching. But everyone loves the raccoon.
Yeah.
Ta-da!
Ta-da!
Mad. It's mad, but it was just so much fun.
And that's a testament to the like find something that works, right? So like people laugh at me and Roy's not on the podcast today because he's just that man is busy. And just I mean like there's literally no other way to express it. Like I call him and I'm like, and I just hear, hey, what's up, man? And I'm like, do you need a hug? Like
Virtual hugs.
yeah, so but he's a grinder, right? And so he cares so much about his team that he just does everything for his team all the time.
Yeah.
And so but one of the jokes we make is I always on the show I'm like, hey, it's your favorite recruiter's favorite recruiter, Cam. And he's like, well, you're not my favorite recruiter. And I'm like, well, you're but he's full of shit because he always tells me but because literally every time we talk he's like, man, he's like, you really are like my favorite recruiter. And I'm like, I wish you would just admit to people on the show. And he's like, nope,
just say it out loud, just like therapy. Sometimes you just say it out loud.
Feel so free. And so but I remember I had that when I first told him I was going to start doing that. He was like, whatever. And I used to have it on my headline on LinkedIn, and literally the first comment that I made after I changed it, somebody messaged me back and said, Cameron Macias, I love your headline. It's the best thing ever. And so like I took a screenshot of it and I sent it to him, and I was like,
like mic drop. Everyone else believes it. Why don't you? Like
haters gonna hate, potatoes gonna potato. But that's a big thing, and I try it. It goes apart as I'm sure is like as LinkedIn and other things and marketing in general is evolving, is people don't really give a shit about corporate marketing anymore, or like they don't care about the brand that the company has. They're like, it's become so much more apparent are these people that I actually want to deal with.
Yeah. 100%. Like I know, like we've had the recruitment business for 8 years now, and I love Mitch to death, and he will probably slap me for saying this on social media, but he uses LinkedIn and he uses social media to find candidates, right? He's a pure headhunter at its rawest form. He doesn't rely on job postings. It's like, I know where the talent is. He's a proper raccoon, right? He rummages and rubbages, in fact, till he finds what he needs. I love it. That's the first reference I've ever made of my husband. My husband is a raccoon. Ta-da! Living evidence, raccoon.
You guys have to get matching tattoos now.
How about you get one for me? I'm very British still. I don't have a single tattoo. I have my ears pierced, and that's it. I'm very British.
Yeah, that's a.
Although I don't know if I can really claim that anymore because there are lots of Brits now with tattoos. But anyway. Horses for courses, right? Each to their own. We are actually looking at getting a Wrangler. We want to get a Jeep Wrangler and put the raccoon on the front. So how about that? I'll give you that. I'll give you the Jeep Wrangler with the Raccoon on the front.
I'll take it.
Two Raccoons, and I want it in that margarita green. Is it margarita green they call it? Like it's like proper neon green. There's nothing subtle about me. Nothing. Anyway, back on track. So my husband uses social media to hunt for candidates, right?
Yeah.
Very, very good at it. Finds everyone. Not a problem. But he hates posting stuff on social media.
Yeah.
Absolutely hates it. So when I joined the company, I was like, look, I'll do it. I'll do it for the team. And that's cool. So I spent like a year basically doing those social, like personal branding stuff. And I hate calling it personal branding because it makes it feel fake and pretend.
It does.
But what I did was kind of like, if something was bugging me or something was floating around my head, which is a very dangerous thing to do, I would literally create a video or just put a text post out being like, this is what's rocking out.
Yeah.
And actually what ended up happening is I ended up having inbound leads from people about, oh, could you help recruit for mobile robotics for us? I've seen your posts and I like your moral compass.
Yeah.
I like the way you do things. I like the way you talk about things, the way you care about life.
Yeah.
I want to play with you. Like I want to come and be in the recruitment game with you. And that for me is just incredible. And I love it. And it's so refreshing that people are now seeing past the bullshit.
Yeah.
Right? The corporate bullshit of look at me, aren't I amazing? Although we are starting to go down the dance of people feeling like one thing that really bugs me, okay, this is going to sound potentially awful. I can't believe I'm saying it on a recorded program. That ready, brace yourself, Cameron, brace yourself. That people are now starting to use charitable donations as a mechanism for marketing.
Yeah.
And that, I'm sorry, drives me skits, right? I donate privately.
Yeah.
I don't do it because I want your praise. I don't want your kudos. I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm doing it because it's the right thing to do with whatever money I have left.
Yeah.
That's why I do it. And it really bugs me when people do it to falsify their business.
Yeah. It's like one of those, like, it's one of those, like, double-edged sword questions, right? Because you're like, do I donate? Or it's like you want people to donate, obviously. So you're like, okay, those people who donated stuff, they can't see you. So, my wife's walking past. She like shows this weird face, like, dude, can they see me? Can they see me?
I'm not here. Harry Potter, give me a cloak.
But you know, it was like it's like you want them to donate, right? So you're like, oh, like, and because they obviously are using it to their advantage, it's shitty. So but you're like, but they are at least doing, like, that person who benefited from it, like, great job. So it's like this double-edged, because it's like you don't want to like completely taboo it, because you're like, damn, then it takes away all those like charitable acts, right? But
then you want it to be genuine.
Correct.
Like, I think when companies do PR stunts, right? Like there's a couple of companies I know, none shall be named. And they do empty statements. So they're like, oh, we're hiring loads of women because we're all about diversity and inclusion. And then you go inside them and you're like, you have no idea what diversity means. You just promoted a ton of women because you realized you just set out a press release that's basically going to have you caught with your pants down. You're donating to this charity because it's the hottest charity at the moment. Or actually, I really respect people who are like, quietly, they just get on with their stuff. Like they do their donations because it's the right thing to do. And I think it's different. Like if you're doing like a massive fundraiser, right? Promote till you're blue in the face, right? But don't promote it as my company's doing this. No. You as the business owner are doing it because you're you. It's not your business. It's not a marketing campaign. The only thing you should be referencing in that post is the charity you're supporting and how other people can donate. Your brand shouldn't be mentioned once in it. Like that kind of stuff, that false marketing really grates me.
And I think like personal branding, it that is the best phrase to describe it. But I think where it gets locked up is, like you said, it gives off this false persona, right? Because like, oh, personal branding is, and to me, what I think personal branding really comes down to is you're not necessarily changing who you are, but you're being cognizant of your audience. So like making sure you're not, like, I always call it the big three, right? We don't talk about religion, we don't talk about politics, and we don't talk about your gender, sexual preference. Those are all
Yep.
three subjects that, when it comes to pushing out content and things like that, you should really be cognizant that you're not trying to alienate or isolate anything, right?
Yep.
And
Which
so
can be hard, right? That can be
it
really
can,
hard in its own right, because I think there's that middle ground piece, isn't there, where you're like, let's say for example, you do want to talk about, I don't know, age, or you do want to talk about your gender, or
yeah,
whatever it may be, because it's a meaningful topic to you.
yeah,
I think the most important thing that people forget is like, okay, you don't have to sit on a fence, okay, when you're on social media. You have to, like, you obviously have to have an opinion because it's you and it's your belief and it's your core. I think where social media and the personal branding piece goes a bit off piste is when people put stuff out there in an aggressive tone.
correct.
Like they're looking for a fight. Like there was one I read today about International Women's Day, right? And I
Yeah.
read the post and it was done to bait a response.
Oh,
Like
was it?
everything about it was a bait for response. So I think that's where those kind of the areas you're saying like don't touch on. I think there is a way you can articulate it,
Yeah,
but you have to be very. It's not just being conscious and going, I'm going to like power out a thought. You have to spend a couple of days constructing it
yeah,
to make sure that actually your point is being conveyed without you being aggressive or derogatory to someone who falls outside that camp,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And that's tricky, right? That's a fine art.
yeah. Oh, oh, yeah, super fine art. I mean, that was one of the things that like Adrian has helped me with is I'll just say stuff. I just like
You and me
to-
shouldn't be on this together.
totally, totally
No filter.
no, and it's stuff that like shit that you don't even like think about, right? Like we had some friends come over, and back before COVID, and the wife, she's Puerto Rican, of our friends, and she made tri-tip, and she like marinated it in like Puerto Rican, and it was
Nice.
amazing, right? And to be honest, like when I get tri-tip, I am the one that mainly likes tri-tip in my house. Like my family will eat it, but like I'm the one who like I grew up on tri-tip. Like my mom
Yep.
bought it. It was cheaper. I had a single mom. It still allowed us to feel like we were eating steak. Like
Yep.
Costco does a great job at marinating it.
Let's go.
Yep.
Win-win.
If you want to sponsor me, Costco, call me. But you
That's how
know,
you're going to pay for the car, right?
boom. And so, but anyways, like we made it, and then Adrian was like, "Oh, like this is so good," and I was like, "Hey, that's saying something because she doesn't normally like tri-tip." And like in my mind, I'm like,
In your mind, that's like an innocent throwaway comment.
if anything, that's a compliment. Like I just told you
And that is a massive compliment.
she normally doesn't like tri-tip. She liked your tri-tip, and then like afterwards, she was like, "What's wrong with you?" I was like, "What?"
Like, add a filter to that. But to be fair, I'm like that. Because actually, what you said wasn't offensive. It was
I think
actually a really nice compliment.
but stuff like that, right? Like I'll just like so
Yeah.
now I've gotten a lot better. And now what I will say though is I don't do the bullshit thing that I hate, and this is something that I hate, is when somebody's trying to say something and they add a disclaimer for every single thing they're about to say. They're like, "Hey, look, I'm not trying to say this. I'm not trying to say that. Oh,
So
by the
you
way,
are trying to say it.
if you feel like this, I'm sorry, blah blah blah." I'm like, dude, just if what you're about to say is really that bad, then maybe you should just think
Stop
about
saying
it a
it.
little bit longer before you
Yeah.
say it. Like, and obviously
But
we do.
it's like when you get a row with someone, right? If you get a row, right, and you're in a heated moment, and you're like, look, I didn't mean to say it like this, but I'm
Yeah,
really sorry if this offends you. It's your interpretation, right? It's utter bullshit, right? It's bullshit. Like when you're in a row, you say what you think, right? And the fact that if you even have to caveat it, you know you're about to piss. Like I'm not trying to say, no, sweetheart. That's exactly what you're trying to say. You're trying to say it, and the way I just read it was exactly how you wrote it. And if you think it's going to offend someone or upset someone, and you don't have the
yeah,
balls to handle it,
yeah,
don't put it out there. Like,
yep,
just don't do it. Just stop and think. And I mean, I've written stuff before where I've like, those like keyboard warriors where I'm like, "Arr," and you can hear the clacking, and Mitch is like coming in, and I can touch type, right? So when there's like warrior typing going on, like bashing, he's like, oh shit, someone's pissed her off. But it's like at those moments you reread it and you go, wow, you bitch. Like, just don't press send on that. Right?
Yeah,
Just stop.
Just
delete or like just walk away and cool off. But like never I never could proactively go out looking for a fight. Like
Yeah.
when I put stuff on social media, when I'm writing about stuff that really is meaningful, like I've done the whole thing about women having babies and coming back from maternity. I've done those conflicts. I've done a dyslexia one. I've done dress codes. Right, dress codes were a massive thing when I was in banking.
Yeah.
Like I had plenty of men make derogatory comments because I wore a nice outfit, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm quite good at banter, thankfully." So my banter was on point with a lot of those comments. But like, I put stuff out there that is stuff that I feel is really important to discuss, and I don't think it should be silenced.
Yeah.
But I never do it in a way that I'm like, I'm right. It's like there's no right or wrong necessarily. It's just like stuff needs to change. So I want to be a voice to install that this hasn't been forgotten. We need to keep bringing these topics back up because we keep talking about it and nothing's shifting, which means something needs to be pushed a little bit harder.
Yeah.
But those are the only kind of topics where I'm like, let's talk. Plus, I hope you're talking about raccoons now, right? I've got raccoons dancing around and clapping at the minute. But that's it. Like, you just don't put stuff out there that you think is going to upset someone, and don't knowingly go out to try and provoke a response. It's just nasty.
Oh yeah.
It's bullying. It's online. It's online.
Oh yeah. I definitely think there. Well, I mean, we all know them. The people who are out there just trying to bully a response, right?
Yeah, or they do it for likes. Like I saw someone the other day who put a post out and they were like, well, mic drop, that worked because he got loads of comments, which obviously pushed the post, which then pushed his profile up.
Yep.
And I'm like, what type of planet are we on where you need to write a provoking post just for vanity metrics? Like, what are we doing here? Like, I want to see stuff on my feed that brings value and benefit.
Yeah.
Not just rubbish.
Well, it's unfortunately, people are the problem, right? Like before I comment on anything, I no shit think about like what does this represent what I want to be attached to, right? Like, and then even if somebody, and luckily I have been fortunate enough where I, the people that I speak to or that I connect with, like you, and like I think in the last 3 days I've gotten tagged like 8 times, and I need to respond to all of them, to include yours. And so, well, I was trying to take a break, right, a little bit from my stuff over the weekend, and even because I've been doing a lot. You can't see my board, but I like created this social media board, like it helps me stay organized, like because as you know, it's you have to keep the content coming, unfortunately.
Yep.
And because I do it not only for my personal stuff, I also do it for the recruiting that I do. It's almost double, and so. But I think about that, right? And I'm fortunate enough where everybody that does tag me or pulls me into conversations, I'm always able to comment and do stuff like that. But I have friends who have said like, yeah, I've been tagged in this or whatever, and I either try and remove it or I just don't comment because I know where it's going. And I think not enough people think about that. Like if a post is shitty, 9 times out of 10 people know that the post is shitty. They want you to comment on it. So, and you're not going to change their mind. I think that's the funniest thing. People are like going back and forth like, "Oh, I'm going to change your mind over this post."
But it ends up just being, I think it's a bit like when you're having a row with a child, right? If you get into a debate with a child, you're sitting there debating with each other. And let's be honest, the child has more stamina than you do, right? You'll go to your room before the child's even given up, right? They're like on a course of steam, right? They've got another 3/4 of the tank left to go. But on social media, I think it's exactly that, right? People start nitpicking and they start behaving like children. They start commenting and rowing. And actually, I've seen posts where that's happened, and you're reading it like watching Jerry Springer, right? You're reading it, and you're like, I know I'm not going to respond, but you can't wait to see the next comment because it's so childish and petulant. But the problem is that leaves an leaves a lasting memory, right?
Yep.
I don't remember what these people were rowing about, but I just remember they were behaving like children on social media.
Yeah.
And I've had it before where I put a post out, and there is a particular recruitment network out there in the world that shall not be named, and the leader is a bit of a plonker. And I wrote something on social media, and it wasn't about anything to do with them. It was just a general statement about challenges in the recruitment business and how you should handle clients who aren't paying, right?
Yeah.
It's a very hot topic. It's something that still needs addressing and still isn't being sorted. And he was like, if you can't keep up, exit stage left. And do you know those moments where you just want to write back and go, huh? Like literally, like
Yeah.
you can feel the words brewing in my mind on all the warrior keyboard bashing I want to do on this guy. And I sat there and went, for one moment, I was like, actually, I've had some such lovely comments, and I always respond to everyone. Anyone who comments, anyone who tags me, I respond, right? It takes hours, like, right? But I do it because I'm like, actually, if you've taken 2 seconds out of your day, I'm going to respond.
Yeah.
And when I stopped and I looked at the post in totality and all the comments, I was like, I've responded to everyone who's worth it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to respond to your post because actually that sends a louder message to my network.
Yeah.
I don't lower my tone to respond to bullies.
Yep.
And people who write stupid comments. And actually, he ended up looking like a bigger twat because everyone then read all my posts and was like, oh, everyone's being so nice. Oh, who's that moron?
Yeah.
Because it stood out, but I didn't lower the tone to get into a fight with him.
Yeah.
Actually, one of my connections actually jumped in and started being like, back off. And I was like, I messaged him and went, please don't worry about it. Like, it's cool, right? He's
Don't waste your time. Don't waste your time.
Don't worry, you're cool. But it was kind of cute that he defended me. I was like, oh, I love you. It does. I think people who start rows on social media and like just kind of pick at each other and call people nasty names, like it doesn't look good on you. It just doesn't. It damages any reputation building you've been doing. Just stop. Just take a deep breath, walk away, go and whinge at someone else about it. Or if it bugs you that much, just delete the comment.
Yeah, I've done that. I mean, I've written stuff, and I'm like, there's no point with this. Like, and that actually happened recently, where I'm gonna end it here, but like that happened where I wrote something. Me and a guy were going back and forth, deleted it. He actually had saw it right before I deleted it, so then he messaged me, and this is someone, like, for some weird reason, we've never met in person, but we're both recruiters, and we just had this weird like stuff going on. And he messaged me, and we started kind of talking about the same subject again, and I just kind of cut it off. I was like, look, dude, we have 2 different perspectives. We're not gonna agree. You're not gonna convince me. I am wholeheartedly not gonna convince you. And I was like, but we can agree on 2 things. We can agree that we want to help our applicants as much as we can, and that we want things to be better. And he was like, yeah, I can get behind that. And I was like, then let's just leave it at that.
Let's move on with that.
And now we're like, we do great. Now we like the veil is open, right? Like, but I think it takes one, right? It takes at least one of the parties to do that. And it can be hard because as humans, we just I want to win.
Yeah, but like, just sometimes it's just a pointless battle, right? There there's someone there was a situation on like what post I put out, and what was it about? I think it was about working mums and being able to have it all and the balance and blah blah blah. And it was one of those videos, and someone had responded being like, it's not always that easy, and like it was a proper angry post, like it was really really angry.
Yeah.
And I was going to respond to them, and I was like, stop. And actually what I did is I went onto their profile, and I noticed on their profile they'd written something along the lines that they had a severe trauma as a child growing up.
Oh.
Right. And it was he's very focused on mental health and all that kind of stuff. So he kind of partly explained it, and I stopped. And I was like, I'm not going to respond on here.
Yeah.
And what I did is I messaged him privately, and I just went, look, I've seen on your profile, obviously I don't know the full context, but this is the background where my post came from. And I'm sorry to hear that you had to go through that journey.
Yeah.
And actually, like, we went from his angry post to actually like a really beautiful common ground, because I'd taken 2 seconds to go, hang on, where's this come from? And I think sometimes you need that, right? People share stuff on social media a lot, but sometimes you need to take a step back, go look at what's happening in their world.
Yeah.
If it's bothering you that much, and that did, and I went, and that completely changed my perspective on how I was going to respond to that person.
Yeah.
It was like, no, you need a personal response. That's a really shit situation. Yeah. And it's very unique, and it's not something I can relate to because I've never been through it.
Yeah.
But that was not my intent. And like,
Yeah.
you are going to have those people you're going to upset unintentionally. Like,
Yeah.
you can't please everyone,
Yeah.
but it's owning those situations and handling them like an adult.
Yeah.
And the more people that handle it like adults, hopefully the more that will ripple through
Yep.
society, where we
Yeah.
actually just learn to talk to each other like normal human beings, even if we don't agree. Shocking, right?
Yeah.
How dare we communicate with each other like adults? Shocking. Instead, we should resort to being children in a playground and scream and shout at each other. Like, grow up. I want my kid, like, I don't know if you were the same when you had kids. You suddenly stopped and looked at the way you behave and the way you handle situations, going, if my daughter saw me behaving like this, would I want her to do the same? And I
Correct.
do it
Yeah.
constantly, like all the time now since having Phoebe. Like, if Mitch and I are getting a bit niggly at each other,
Yeah.
or if I pass as like a snippy comment, you know, when like your partner
Yeah.
does something wrong and you're like, it was really secret kind of whisper and you like sass them and then you walk off as if you've won the battle, but it hasn't actually even started yet. It's like I whispered something, I've won, and you can't say anything because Phoebe's here, right?
I've got
you know the moment.
whisper.
That's it. But it's in those moments, like I kind of sit there and go, actually, if I heard someone talk to Phoebe like that,
Yeah.
what would my response be?
Correct.
How would I feel if Phoebe spoke to someone like that?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, the way we communicate in this household is completely different, because I always want to communicate in a way as effectively as possible that gives her the tools to communicate. And I think that's what sometimes adults have forgotten.
Yeah.
Is actually kids communicate better than we do.
Oh yeah. Well, keyboards have just created this an unnecessary thing too, and not everybody, I would say, is probably like us, where we'll just call people out on it, like, hey, that comment you left, are you comfortable saying that in person? Because we can
Bring
talk.
it.
We can talk. And so
There's not going to be long till we're out of lockdown. We can have a chat after that, shall we?
we can zoom it up, boo boo.
We'll do a live Zoom. I've got live LinkedIn. I've got LinkedIn Live now.
Yeah.
We should totally do that.
Do you have it now, man?
I do. I have it now.
I'm on try number 7.
Don't. You know what? Don't. You have to pay for a platform to stream it. It's a complete
Oh, I mean, I already do that. Because I stream. So Clubhouse. Are you on Clubhouse yet?
Yeah, I am. I'm
Okay.
on Clubhouse, and then I changed to an Android.
Oh, well, do you have like an iPad or anything?
No,
Oh.
I have a real thing. I call it a laptop.
Excuse me.
No, so you use that for Clubhouse then? Your streaming stuff.
So yeah, so I stream. So we do our rooms on Fridays, and then, but because we're talking a lot about the subject, like it's a lot to go around how to help military transition. So we have a subject every week, like, hey, how to build your LinkedIn profile, what your about me section should look like. Here's ways to network. Here's ways to start looking for a job. Here's all these things, right? Well,
tell them to come and network with us lot. Do you know what I find this? It's really weird. There is a gap, right? And I don't know what it is. And we joked about it originally on our first chat about the fact that there's like this little clique. Like if you're army, ex-army, or whatever, like you all kind of like huddle together, and especially on a networking platform like LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty much one of those people that if someone sends me a connection request, I say yes. Like I don't have a filter. I talk to strangers as kind of part of my enjoyment in life.
Yep.
But what's amazing is actually if I look through my profile, I think I've got like 2 vets on there. Yeah. And bear in mind, like we're hiring at the minute, right? We're hiring as a business.
Yeah.
But I don't actually see any vet stuff coming up on my feed at all. Like nothing.
Well, that's just because and that's one of the things I'm trying to solve with what I do is I'm trying to show people like, one, LinkedIn is not just for if you're looking for a job now.
Yep. 100%.
Or if you're looking for a job in 5 years, right?
Yep.
And then 2, there's always been, just like with anything, and I'm sure banking was probably the same way, is like if you do anything that's not associated with like the organization you're a part of, then it's like you're not dedicated or like you're looking for the next thing. And the military is even worse for that because we are full-time and we have the way, the nature of what we do. But so I think people have been reluctant. Actually, I know they've been reluctant to get on because for a long time there was like this stigma, right? Where like, and there still is. I mean, don't get me wrong. I know that there's people that don't like what I do. I know that they don't like how much I'm
Why?
on LinkedIn because they don't think I'm doing my job right. I get,
Okay.
it's perception, right? Perception's reality, yeah.
Yeah.
But anyone who really knows me, who has taken the time to like ask me about the things I do, understands that I just know how to balance it all very well. And
Yeah.
which has also allowed me to not only already complete my mission for the year 5 months in,
Yeah.
but also still doing my stuff, right? And so it's just communication. So what I would suggest is maybe you start reaching out to, if you can find them. That's the other thing. There's just not a lot of them out there. Like a lot of my friends who are in the military like have a LinkedIn and they don't do anything with it because or they just don't have one.
Just shocking.
Yeah.
Although to be fair, I say that like actually, I do quite like talking about diversity and inclusion is obviously a hot topic, right?
Yeah.
Across all spectrums, like whether we're talking about gender, race,
Yep.
whether we're talking about career backgrounds, right? It's like there is inequality. And I always check out my LinkedIn profile.
Yep.
Always. I always look at the demographics. I kind of look at the distributions because I'm like, actually, if there is a trend in terms of there's a bit more weighting on one to the other, then
Yeah.
I'm gonna be proactive at finding that gap. Because not only it's not because it's the right thing to do, it's because you become so narrow-minded if you only circle around a certain group of people.
Correct.
Hence why I talk to strangers. Like my
Yeah.
mission since I graduated was to talk to one stranger a day. That has always been my mission. Every single day, like have a genuine conversation with a stranger.
Yeah.
And I think actually, like you said, actually there's a responsibility for me. Like if I know that I'm not finding vets, then actually I need to go and do something about my LinkedIn profile. Like not necessarily change my profile, but go
Oh yeah.
look for some.
Yeah.
Go use Tool.Raccoon, right? Go use my Boolean search to go and find people that are from different backgrounds, different experiences, because only in that way does my network become powerful because we all learn from each other from different perspectives.
Yep.
And it might actually even help your world, right?
I hardly ever do a coffee with people who are in the military.
Is that just because they don't want to be friends? Like,
No,
because I
no.
found a guy,
It's
I
because
found actually,
it's just because we have such like a. So I have like the ones who have wanted to, but in general, like me, like we were talking about, I actually
yeah,
I searched out you and other
yeah.
people. I want to talk to the other side of the spectrum.
Where I want to
Um,
sit, I want to talk to your side of the spectrum.
exactly,
Maybe
and
we
I
should
think
swap LinkedIn
yeah, we should.
networks.
But I think it's intimidating from both sides because and it's like I don't. So for you, it's just that you're like maybe I don't know, I would imagine in your mind you're like I haven't served and like how do I what should I search for? Who should it be
Yeah.
Army or Royal Air Force? Should it be this? Whereas for veterans and military, it's like that imposter syndrome where it's like, am I really even gonna bring anything relevant to the conversation?
Oh
Like
yeah, I've had
I'm
that.
gonna talk to Gabby and she's gonna know all this stuff and she runs this company and she worked in banking and then she worked like what am I gonna bring into the conversation just serving?
That is, do you know what? I find it really amazing, and the whole concept around imposter syndrome was something new that got introduced to me probably about 6 7 months ago.
2 weeks for me. Had never heard
Really?
it. Had
Never heard
never
of it.
heard it. And then
See,
yeah.
I didn't get it. Like, I didn't get it. And then I was talking to this gentleman, and he'd found me through various LinkedIn videos that he'd kind of stumbled across of mine. And he was like, I want to talk to you about diversity and inclusion. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, okay. Like, he was like, and he was very, very open. I was like, well, to be fair, white, female with a kid, right? Owns a couple of companies, right? I'm ticking a few boxes. Oh, I'm dyslexic, right? Let's throw that in there. I'm basically become unsackable, right? Hit a few of them and thank you, diversity. I probably shouldn't say that, but hey, someone's got to.
I mean it's not you're not lying.
No, I'm not lying at all, but nobody will say it out loud. It's like, no, really, really. And someone, actually, I know somebody did something. Anyway, that's an offline conversation. But this gentleman was talking to me and he was a vet, or is a vet, not was, that's the wrong sentence. He is a vet. And he was saying how much he struggles with this concept of imposter syndrome. Like he's got this incredible job,
Yeah.
like absolutely amazing job. And he's like, every morning I kind of wake up and I'm waiting for someone to tap me on the shoulder and go, what are you doing here?
You don't belong here. Yeah.
You don't belong. And I was literally listening to this conversation and I was like, why? why don't you belong? Like, why? Like, I think obviously vets feel it because they've been in kind of environments that are very, very different to the corporate world. But I've heard people who also have been brought up in the corporate world and they don't feel like they belong. Like this perpetual sense of not feeling good enough and feeling like someone's going to catch you out stalks so many people. It's like this shadow that just follows them everywhere. And I really struggled with it because I was like, actually, in my mind, when I join a conversation with someone, whether I don't care about their background, right? I'm one of those people, I'll talk to anyone, whether you're the CEO, whether you're a cleaner, like I don't care because your journey is unique. And your journey, you've seen and experienced things, and I've seen and experienced things, and that's cool. That's really beautiful in its own right. And actually, the only way we both evolve together and move forward, like we were talking about earlier with Ivy, is if we start listening to each other's stories and owning them. And then showing up and being like, cool, this is me. This is me. And until the world says that's acceptable, I think that imposter syndrome is always going to exist. But I love talking to vets. It's a whole different world. I have never experienced, and I very much hope, touch wood, in my little bubble that it doesn't have to, right? It's not something, it's a scary place for someone like me, right? This normal civilian who's never seen it. But you guys bring so much experience and skill set that actually I think sometimes you underestimate how much value that really does bring to us civilians in the normal world, right? And actually brings to the companies we work in. Like I was talking to Mitch about hiring. I was like, I can think of someone like a vet would be amazing to hire in a startup because your personalities, the way you're trained, your work ethic is just like gold dust for a startup. Right? You are that piece of gold dust. But people suffer with imposter syndrome, which makes them undervalue themselves.
Boom. Done.
Mic drop. Bang. Gabi's now gonna corrupt the world of vets. I think you should all go run and hide, okay?
There you go. I'm gonna put it in the when I post the episode is if you're a vet, go connect with Gabi.
Go find Gabi. Like genuinely, I used to work with them in banking. There's a couple of vets in my team. Again, like they all kind of clump together, right? If one gets a job, then they all kind of come that way. It was really cool, but they would never talk about their past experience. And I know there's stuff you can't share, okay? I get that, right? And I'm naturally a very inquisitive person, and then often like Gabs can't tell you, and I'm like, oh, what can you tell me though? But it's like I don't know. I want them to come to the table. I just want people agnostic of your background to just be proud.
I think that I think like as we're getting a lot more comfortable with it. As we have people that are really out there kind of doing it. But yeah, I mean, so I know it's late for you, so I don't want to keep you on more. I'm sure Mitch is like, when are you gonna make my pizza?
Never. This woman doesn't do anything traditional. Bless him. We met. We were 17, right? We met when we were 17. We're 33. We've been married since we were 21.
Man.
And I still remember the day his mom turned around and was like, "If you're marrying Mitch, you're gonna have to look after him and do like the housework and the cleaning." And I looked at her and was like, "Marrying the wrong woman."
Yeah. I'm not the one.
If he wants a cake, I can bake him a cake.
Yeah.
But like it's not like some people think that's because I'm like fighting my gender role. It's not at all. I'm just like
I clean the kitchen.
Cleaning doesn't make me happy. Like cleaning doesn't make me feel good about myself. Like it doesn't. It's not something I wake up in the morning and oh, I must go clean my house or I must go tend to my husband. I'm just like, right. He's big enough and ugly enough to drive a car. He can look after himself. He's cool, right? Okay, I can drive better than him, but don't tell him.
I mean, I clean the kitchen. My wife makes fun of me. She's like, "I think you like cleaning." I'm like, I grew up with a single mom. Like kitchen cleaning. I think it has to do with. I was telling her is because my brain is always go 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 go. That when I'm cleaning something, it makes me kind of focus, and it honestly like it calms me down because I'm not thinking about anything else.
Do you know what? If all else fails, you can become a cleaner. Imagine how calm you'd be.
This is true.
It's like that's pretty cool. Like to be fair, I can relate because I have the same thing with baking. Like it's not just baking the cake; it's decorating the cake. It's spending the time Just focus. And it's probably like an hour and a half of my life that I'm just calmness goes over you, and you're like, I'm just focused on this, and then the cake's done, and I'm like, oh, back to 3 businesses and a child and a husband and no sleep. Like, and trying to change the world, right?
Change the world.
So we can do that, right?
Yes, this is your so I have 2 questions for you for us to end with. So the first one is, you know, as not only my first guest for Women's History Month, but it's International Women's Day, and you're international. The first one to talk to my daughter. What is, I would say, you know, when she watches this episode later, what's some advice you would like to give her, or any other girls or women to really, you know, to, I don't want to say successful, because money and all those things don't really, you know what I mean. They don't necessarily mean your success, but
they don't define your success.
They don't define your success. But what advice would you give them for the future?
This is going to sound like a really simple piece of advice. Don't look back. Don't look back. Okay, so I love history, like the rest of the world. But I think so often when we look at what people have achieved, we look back at role models. Yeah. Right? I think women, men, anyone, right? People in general need to start standing in the present, putting their shoulders back and going, this is who I am right now. Yeah. And this is the change I'm going to make going forward. Yeah. Right? And focus on that. And just take a deep breath and just be you. Mm-hmm. Be you and move forward. And that, like, letting go of that baggage from your past, like, even if it's ancestry baggage, right? Let it go. Let it go. Leave it in the past. Acknowledge it. Be conscious of it, but don't let it define the steps you take or even the anger you potentially take forward with you. Yeah. Just be you. Hold your shoulders back. Be you and be confident with it. Yeah. Like it. And then question number 2 is, when you heard what the show was called, Scared Money Don't Make Money, what does that mean to you? Actually harder than the first question. Do you know what? That for me, it's really tricky. How do I get this out of my head? Give me a second to get this out of my brain, right? This is one of those dyslexia moments, right? I can hear it in my head. I'm just like, how do I get this shit out? Save money, don't make money. But actually, being scared of life and not taking opportunities, like, means that you don't actually go forward and make a change and make the money as a byproduct of that success. Yeah. That's what it means to me. Because, like, for me, so many people, like you said, when you started these questions, you were like, money doesn't necessarily define success. Yeah. And I always remind people, especially people joining the recruitment space or starting any company, money is a byproduct of everything you do. Don't be scared not to have it. Don't be scared to have it. Just do what you feel passionate about. So recruiting, be passionate about filling those jobs and making people happy and making a difference in their world, and the money will come. It's all a byproduct. Agreed. And so this is your last little tidbit to the last show we called it the shameless plug. So plug all your services. You know. Oh my God! I signed up for the Boolean shop or whatever. I think it's on Wednesday, right? Yeah. So we have got, oh my God, probably the scariest demo I am ever going to do. So Tooled Up Raccoons, the Boolean solution for all recruiters. It's on Wednesday. I'm joining Growth Recruitment Hacking. And they are going to help me go through a live demo of Boo, the Tooled Up Raccoon. And it's currently, we've got 125 people signed up. Oh wow, so it was 50 when I signed up. It's gone insane. People have obviously been watching and getting nosy. So if you're interested in it, come find my profile, connect with me, and come and attend the event. It's going to be so much fun, and we're just going to geek out on Boolean. And it's not as scary as it sounds, I promise. There's raccoons there. How could that be scary? No, and I think people are really realizing how important at least having an understanding of Boolean is right now. Yeah. Especially considering how much LinkedIn Sales Navigator and LinkedIn Recruiter is. People are like, I can get past this if I just Google it. But do you know what? The other thing that people have missed is that actually, if you can leverage Boolean you don't need to pay for job slots.
Correct.
Sorry, LinkedIn.
Yep.
There's another revenue stream that just ran out the front door. Woohoo! I'm here to break LinkedIn's income.
Right.
You are welcome.
They're gonna call YouTube and like cut. We have to cut the end of that video.
They've just lost me thousands. But I'm not even joking. At the beginning of this year, we were posting every single job on a job slot. Every single job.
On LinkedIn?
And then we built on LinkedIn.
Oh my gosh.
It was insane. It was costing us a fortune.
Yeah, it's expensive.
And like one job ad was attracting 900 applicants in one day. It was insane, which meant from an efficiency perspective, it was all arse about face, right? We were ending up trolling through stuff that wasn't really relevant. You'd have to respond, you know the drill. Where we then built Boo, and we've been using Boo internally for a while now, right? We secret squirrel. We built and we tested it internally, and we ended up in a position where we didn't have to pay for a single job slot. We don't have a single job slot anymore, and we still fill a job. We have a 4-3-2-1 model. Got 4 weeks to find 3 candidates, 2 go to interview, 1 gets offered. That's the model we operate for our clients. Yeah. And we can nail that every time because we leverage Boo to hunt candidates and be super efficient about what we're doing.
Yeah. Man. Well, I will be. Your thing is on my calendar, so I will be there.
I'm so excited. I'll at least know someone in the audience. I'll be like, right, find Cameron, because how on earth I'm going to demo to all these people in one room. I still have to make that up. I have no idea how to navigate that one. So any tips, let me know.
Got you. But as always, I appreciate you so much. Another episode of Scare Money Don't Make Money. And if you have any ending comments, otherwise we'll sign it off.
No, it's just been wicked to be here, and Cam, so much fun. And I love Ivy. Ivy. She should be here every session.
She got some ahead of her. So, but all right. Well, we appreciate you, everybody, and we'll see you guys later. Indulge and to learn about ourselves. Perhaps